Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great start to your summer. I know I have been. I haven't uploaded in a while and I apologize about that. It's just been a very long month for me. I've been very busy, but I'm not going to bore you with any of the details about my personal life. If you're interested in that kind of thing, come check out my streams. I'm going to try and start streaming every Tuesday and Wednesday, probably in the morning or around noon. I know those aren't the most ideal times to stream, but I just have a busy schedule and I work overnight, so that's the best time for me. And sometimes I'll be streaming at random times on the weekend, so subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to get notified when I go live on those days. And to everyone watching, do me a huge favor, go ahead and hit that like button real quick. I put in a ton of effort and it just takes 1 second just to hit that little button, and I greatly appreciate it. Okay, so now that you definitely just hit that like button, let's go ahead and talk about the new sea monster, the Mega Lestari, aka the Megalodon. I'm not going to include the entire fight because it took me about 15 minutes to solo her, and this was the only attempt so far that I've had where other players didn't show up because it is new and everybody wants to try out the new event. So in the past 2 days, I've killed the Meg probably like 20 times, and what I can confidently say about the fight and the way that it scales is that it does scale based on how many ships are in the event. I've also heard it scales based on ship rank, but I haven't tested that, so I can't confirm it, but I can definitely say it scales based on the amount of ships. So the way that it works is actually pretty interesting. They didn't go the route of the more players that are in the event, the more health it has. They went the route of the more players that are in the event, the faster it will attack, the more frequently it attacks. So even if you have a very tanky build, if there is a ton of ships in the event and nobody is healing, then it can sink you. I'm not gonna lie though, besides that one aspect of the fight, it's kind of boring. It's a little underwhelming. It's just my personal opinion. I kind of knew it was basically going to be a reskin of the Zom Haribu, which is basically what it is, except more boring because it's faster, so it's harder to hit, and it seems to keep its distance. It seems to stay further away for the majority of the fight than the Haribu did. And honestly, I've started to notice this trend in the game of this running mechanic, right? This mechanic where certain enemies will just run from you. So far all of the sea monsters have this running mechanic where they spend a lot of time running away from you. The Ubek twins now, I've noticed, they also spend quite a bit of time just basically running away from you. The medic ships, that's all they do. They run and heal other ships and shoot backwards at you. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather something just have a ton of health and take longer to kill and actually like stay in place and give me a chance to really fight it rather than just spend all of the time chasing it. Like with the Anguish of the Abyss, how it can just teleport over and over and over again, and you can spend, you know, a couple minutes trying to figure out which one's the real man Godin and chase it down, and as soon as you get close to it, it teleports away. And it's just frustrating. But again, that's just my personal opinion. It's definitely more fun to do these events with friends, especially because of that. But you know, let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Do you like that runaway mechanic, or would you rather have something with a ton of health? Because personally, I like high health enemies that kind of just sit in place and you can just fight it and you have to learn their attack rotation and stuff. That's kind of the fights that I really enjoy personally. But you know, maybe that's not for everybody. Maybe that's not why they're going. Maybe that's why they're not going that route. Maybe that's why they're choosing the route that they're going down. I don't know. I'm not a developer. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the build here. We have upgraded our ship to level 4, but you don't need to. You really only need it to level 1. I would recommend trying to get it to level 2 if you can, just to get that extra furniture slot, because it'll help you, especially if you're able to get company screens. But if you have the materials, definitely get it to level 4. The extra whole health and brace strength make a huge difference. If you don't have it to at least level 1 though, she can basically one-shot you. I mean, you'll have a sliver of health even if you're bracing when she hits you with her hardest attacks. So for our ship here, we are using a Snow. Again, you can always pause the video if you want to see all the different perks and whatnot and the reason I'm using everything. The most important thing here is going to be that we have 63,000 whole health and 31,500 brace strength. Alright, so For our weapons, on the front you want the twin winch ballista. You're basically going to stay anchored the entire time. Try to keep the front of your boat facing her and shoot her with the twin winch, because that's where you're going to get the most damage per shot. Is that I think you're going to get higher DPS with the long guns, and if you wanted to use bombards you can, but I'll talk here in just a second about why I don't like bombards in this fight. But twin winch ballista on the front is probably going to be some of your best DPS. Now, on the sides, we're using the long 9s. I would like to use La Piqûre 3 on all 3 on the sides and the rear, but you can only get 1 currently that I know of. If there is a way to get more than 1 of these, besides trading with other players, please let me know, because I do not know about it. Hopefully in the future they do make it to where we can get more, but right now long 9s and La Piqûre is a great combo. The reason I don't like bombards in this fight is because the spring loader is actually the best way to do damage to the Meg. Even when she's under the water, or when just her fins up and it's hard to hit her and she's moving really fast, the mines hit her. The mines hit her even when she's completely submerged under the water. You'll see randomly sometimes you don't see her at all, but you hear the mine popping and you see a damage counter and you see the damage, you see her health at the top of the screen take a hit, because the mines do it. And the bombards destroy the buoys. So even healing buoys get destroyed by bombards. So the Infernal Maw has incredibly low health, so that thing's getting destroyed all the time. If you're using the Infernal Maw in this fight and somebody else is in the fight using the freaking bombards, your Infernal Maw is going to constantly get destroyed by their bombards, most likely when the Meg's not even within range. So that's why I like long 9s over bombards in this fight. I do not like to bring bombards into this fight, or probably any of the sea monster fights in the future, unless I'm only doing it solo, and that's just for speed runs. But for simplicity's sake, for the sake of trying to make sure anybody can pick this up, just like my solo Zamharabu build, I want anybody able to pick this up and just go and solo this sea monster. I want it to be as easy as possible, and this, in my opinion, is the easiest setup. You don't have to worry about anything, which brings us to the next weapon, which is the Spring Loader 2. Now, the reason I chose that over the Infernal Maw, as I said, bombards will destroy this if there are other people showing up. If you're solo, this is going to do a little bit more damage, but let me explain to you why it's not that much more damage and why I prefer the Spring Loader 2. So each mine is going to do about 2,000 damage. Now, if you explode the Infernal Maw, it'll do 6,000 damage to her if she's in radius with that explosion. But as long as it hits 3 of these Spring Loader mines, then you're basically getting about the same amount of damage as the Infernal Maw, and you can just set it and forget it. That's my favorite thing about it. You set these mines down, you forget about it. You don't have to worry about trying to blow it up whenever it's close to the buoy or anything like that. Technically, you can get more damage with the Infernal Maw, but again, I really just like to set and forget, and I'm sure most people will too. I'm not trying to speed run this thing right now. Maybe in the future I will, but I'm not too worried about trying to kill it as fast as possible. I just want to get the event done. I don't think I showed the stats on that Spring Loader, so let me just scroll through it here. There's the stats for the Spring Loader. Here's the stats for the La Piqûre, and the stats for the long 9s. And then and then the stats for the Twin Winch Ballista. Just don't think I showed those, my bad. So the Ouroboros, in my opinion, is the best in slot armor. So you get 15% of brace damage back as whole health. And so there's going to be a lot of attacks that the sea monsters do that will completely destroy your brace. And since your brace is right around half of your health, you're getting like a quarter of your health, or no, I'm sorry, about an eighth of your health back every single time it does an attack that breaks your brace. And when you're combining that with the Enhanced Repair Kit 2s, which have a 40-second cooldown, you're able to heal like so much that it's really hard for the Meg to actually attack frequently enough during a solo fight to actually be able to sink you, and I haven't been sank yet. So for the furniture, I really like the buoy locker just because it makes sure that I can have buoys up pretty much all the time. You could also go with a dummy spring loader, which arguably is better in this fight. You're just going to have one less buoy, so you can keep 3 buoys up with the buoy locker, but you can only keep 2 buoys up with the dummy spring loader. It's really just preference there, but I think the DPS is honestly higher on the locker, but not 100% sure on that. So double plank toll, in my opinion, is an essential furniture on this. It just increases your health by so much with the snow. So you get 5%. So the higher your health is, the more health you're gonna get back out of this furniture. So it's just made for ships like the Snow with really high hull health. The maintained arsenal buffs our auxiliary weapon, which again, the spring loader, our auxiliary weapon, is going to be like our main source of damage. It's going to get hit like 20 times every time it gets close to us. So the spring loader powder house is really nice. I do love this. If you get company screens, you can put that here if you'd really like. If you're having a hard time with survivability, company screens would be great here. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been able to get it to drop. I've done the Verse of Remorse and Verse of Vengeance 1,000 times, and I haven't been able to get it to drop for me for whatever reason. But if you've been lucky enough to get it to drop, then I'm not 100% sure if you can use it with double plank toll. If not, I think double plank toll is better because it gives you 5%, and company screens I believe gives 3% max hull health, but it also gives some other benefits, including 25% reduction to AoE damage. So maybe it would be better company screens, but again, I don't know if you can use them both in conjunction. If you can though, I think maybe putting that right here where powder house is might be better just for survivability's sake. But for damage sake, the spring loader powder house is great. And then for our last piece of furniture, we have the front powder kegs. Just flat out increases the damage of that ballista by 10%. So that's going to do it for like the furniture and everything. I did want to just show a little bit more of the fight here and go over kind of like what to do, especially when you're first learning how to do the fight. There's not a lot to cover, not much left, so just bear with me here. Really, you just want to kind of focus on making sure that you're keeping those buoys down. Always make sure there's mines near you. You want to make sure that they're around you so that whenever it decides to get close, it's going to take a ton of damage because it's going to come in. Trying to chase it around with the buoys is going to waste your buoys. It's easier to just keep them on top of you and just wait for it to come attack. So until you learn all the attacks, and if you're ever unsure about where the Meg's at, just brace. You can brace basically infinitely in the snow. The snow regenerates its brace while you're bracing, so just don't worry about it. Just pay attention to your stamina. Make sure you're eating food anytime you're halfway, and as long as you're not going full sail, you should be fine. And honestly, that's pretty much it. Don't worry about restoration kits whenever it knocks the sails. You really don't even need to worry about restoration kits whenever you get flooded because you have the severe, the Ouroboros armor heals severe damage. So you really don't have to worry too much about flooding either. And even if you get sank, just respawn at sea and keep fighting because that severe damage is going to heal away with this Ouroboros armor. And that's pretty much going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out my streams.
I'll eat anything you want me to eat. I'll swallow anything you want me to swallow. Come on down now. Chew on the dog.